Introduction to 1 Corinthians. Author the Apostle Paul. Date written between AD 55 and 57. Title From Paul's first recorded letter to the church at Corinth. Background. The Roman general Minimus, Mimmius, destroys the Greek city of Corinth in the 2nd century BC, but Julius Caesar restores the city about 46 BC. Corinth, located on the Mediterranean, becomes the commercial and economic hub of Greece. This wealthy cosmopolitan center of about 700,000 people soon sets the standard for immorality and lasciviousness. It is in this perverse environment that Paul establishes the church at Corinth. While there for over a year and a half on his second missionary journey, Priscilla, Aquila, Solaris, and Timothy are instrumental in aiding Paul's efforts. But soon after Paul's departure, severe evils and fractions threaten the stability and very existence of the church. Were written, Euphrates. To whom? To the church at Corinth. Content. The household of Chloe has reported to Paul strife in the church at Corinth. The church sends a delegation of 3 men with a letter to Paul to seek his wisdom on several concerns and questions the church has. This letter from Paul to the Corinthians systematically answers these issues: divisions in the church, immorality lawsuits, challenges to Paul's apostleship, meat sacrifice to idols, marriage, divorce, and the Lord's Supper. Classic teachings is offered on spiritual gifts in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, Christian love, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, and the resurrection, 1 Corinthians chapter 15. In addition to Paul's words of discipline, he gives practical suggestions to the people while proclaiming the gospel as the power and wisdom of God. Key words: correction and unity. Paul offers words of correction with both love and firmness. The only hope available to the Corinthians is unity in Jesus Christ. Bound together, they can love, serve, minister, and overcome evil by drawing their strength from the same Spirit of God within each of them. Themes: Christ alone is able to cleanse us of our sin and give us right standing before God. True love is a decision, an action, and a commitment. God will never let us be tempted beyond our limits to endure. Brothers and sisters in Christ share a oneness and unity not made available to the world. Mature Christians sometimes need to limit their personal liberties for the benefit of the weaker. Believers receive gifts um, in order to glorify God and build up the body in love. Jesus Christ is interested in all areas of our lives and is the answer to all our problems. Outline. Number 1, introduction, is found in 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verses 1 through 9. Number 2, problems in the Corinthian church, is found in 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 10 through 1 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 21. Number 3, discipline for the church, is found in 1 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 1 through 1 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 20. Number 4, concerning marriage, 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verses 1 through 40. Number 5, principles of Christian rights and liberty, 1 Corinthians chapter 8 verse 1 through 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 1. Number 6, concerning public worship and spiritual gifts, 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 2 through 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 40. Number 7, concerning the resurrection, 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 1 through 58. And number 8, Paul's plan and final instruction, 1 Corinthians chapter 16 verses 1 through 24. May the Lord add a blessing to the introduction of 1 Corinthians.